The number one reason to avoid rippling, if you're someone who expects somebody to come to your warehouse with a hard hat, safety glasses, and a checklist for compliance, then this isn't for you. If you're also somebody that demands your open enrollment meeting is live, in person, everybody's having donuts and pizza and all that, then you probably want to work more with a service first company. I would describe Rippling more as a technology first company, especially when it comes to like HR and PEO. So let's go back for a second. What's a service first company? I would describe that as you're assigning an HR business partner. In the sales process, they'll say things like, we hold your hand, white glove service. We have somebody come on site and do a safety walkthrough, right? We come out like for open enrollments and they'll even say, hey, we'll buy everybody sandwiches and we'll go through it one by one. A technology first company, they're coming from the perspective of our process is so simple. It's so easy. Why would you need us? Just you just take care of business. We have it all right here for you. All the selections, all the information, everything you can possibly imagine, it's here. And as far as service, give us an email, send us a chat, give us a call if you have a problem with the technology. That's a tech first platform. So how do you identify a technology first platform when you're in the evaluation process? Well, the number one thing you'll see with the pricing is I would say technology first platforms are about 33 to 50% of the cost of a service first platform. Why? Well, because the cost to have a person come out, bring you donuts, all that stuff, is going to raise the administrative fee. And that administrative fee, you'll see it labeled as PEO admin fee per employee per month. To give you a little bit of an idea, is a service first company will be about $150 per employee per month, up to maybe $300 per employee per month, maybe more. A technology first company, you'll see drastically less, like $75 per employee per month on up to maybe $115, $120 per employee per month, depending on like the different things you decide to use. So that's the number one thing you can start to look at. The other thing is in the sales process, you'll hear a technology first company say things like, look at all of our APIs, 360 integration. It'll start to sound like you're listening to some type of like if you're at a tech conference, right? It'll start to sound like, like, hey, like I'm not familiar with these things. Now, if you're a tech savvy person, you're going to be very familiar with these things, and it's going to speak to you. So, who typically works well with these tech first platforms? I think the people who work the best with them are senior level HR people who are at a startup and say like you used to work at like Apple or Google or like a larger, 500 to 5,000 employee company, and you're used to having administrators. Well, now that you're in HR department of one, as you're scaling the company and managing the employee life cycle, recruiting, onboarding, management, benefits, open enrollment, compliance, all those different things, even separation, you don't have time every day to go over all these little tiny details, right? So then you're going to go ahead and install technology to manage those workflows and those processes for you. And that's going to be the focus, right, in the sales conversation. So they're going to talk about open APIs, all that. Even when you do the onboarding, you're going to see that again. The people who also do well that are not HR professionals typically are CFOs, COOs, anybody who's operating at like a tech company. They generally love this platform. And I'll tell you why. It's mostly because they're already used to integrating technology to streamline workflows, and they already have an idea of what they like. And then also the tech community is very, very focused on having not only like control, but they like to do a lot of research. And sometimes they pick the 401k that they love. And that 401k already has API and integrations, and they might have been sold on that before they're even looking at the evaluation. So if it's a tech first company, you're going to hear a lot of conversation about that. And you don't even need to be an HR person, right, to manage this. That's what they'll say. Now, I will say if you don't have an HR department and you are a CFO or COO, the third person we find that does really well on these platforms are third-party consultants, like an HR consultant or an outsourced chief people officer. Why? Well, because they can manage multiple clients in the system. When you have issues or you have things that you want to go through with them, they can quickly go in there, look at the HRIS piece. They already know the platform. They have a service team. or if they're working with a broker, like we go in for our clients, we can make changes to the benefits, all that. So like it's really like a nice ecosystem there. However, again, like a tech first company, you need to have some of those things in place in order to do well. The people who don't do well on Rippling's platform are, I don't know, typically it's people who aren't tech savvy, right? If you like manual processes, or if your employee or workforce is they're still doing things manually, they don't have access to a mobile phone, they don't have access to the internet or a computer to do open enrollments. Those companies typically will find a technology first company, anyone, not just Rippling, but a technology first platform. It'll be a little frustrating because then they'll have to enter all the data and information on a piece of paper, and then the administrator over a long evening is going to have to sit there and type all night. And then you're also opening yourself up to potential errors and omissions, right? Because you could be keying something in incorrectly, and that's also going to impact the liability that the PEO can take for you, or that the HR service provider can take on for you, because you are doing that process that's outside of scope of what they're typically doing. So again, if you're looking for a reason to avoid Rippling, it would be you're looking for a service first company, right? Versus a technology first company. And that's the biggest difference I see in people's frustrations around support, the technology platform not working, people saying it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It really comes around the expectations and knowing whether or not in your evaluation process you should be on a tech platform that's focused mostly on technology versus service. And that's the difference. Now, I will recommend, if you've never shopped for a PEO before in the past, you are going to want to work with a professional. Why? Because a professional that's been through this thousands of times, hundreds of times, they're going to know the differences between the platforms that will work for you, because they should have a first meeting with you. They should know your employees' demographics. They should talk to you about your company's goals. They should know like your payroll situation. They should know the technicalities of how you process payroll, right? Because most companies do focus on the payroll first, and that's where they get all these different processes. And that's one thing I will also say that makes it very unique with Rippling, is instead of it being payroll that spits out all these different pieces of information, they focus more on the person first, which is kind of launched into how they're able to integrate global and international payroll systems, 1099 payments, all that stuff in a very seamless way. And I'm seeing more and more and more people are starting to rave about, once they get in the system and they're comfortable with it, and they truly are a client that is tech first, then they love it. They love it. It's one of their favorite. It's one of their favorite like HRIS PEO models. Now, the people again who are service first, they typically want to go to maybe some of their competitors. Maybe it makes sense for you to go to like an Insperity. Maybe it makes sense to go to like a Paychex. And again, like with all these partners, you do want to make sure you're vetting out not only what the salespeople say, but what does the contract say? What's the insurance cost? How does that mitigate and offset some of the admin fees? What parts, if you're trying to negotiate, should you negotiate on? All these things are super important. So definitely try to get a professional in, even if you've done it 15, 20 times in your career. If you haven't done it thousands of times, and you can lean on somebody who does it thousands of times and who's done it hundreds and dozens of times this year, this quarter, super important. Why? Because you get all the latest updates, all the latest information, and you can be assured that your process is going to go smoothly as possible. And they're going to be able to help you troubleshoot along the way. So I hope that was super helpful for you while you guys are all looking at these PEOs, shopping around. If you have more questions, comments, or concerns, just let us know how we can be helpful. And we're happy to book a strategy session with you and see which PEO is the right one for you. All right, take care.